Football Manager 26 beta has been out for a few days now, and yeah, I've got some concerns. I've got a lot of concerns actually. FM25 was cancelled, and now this is what we've been waiting for. This is the baby of about 5 years worth of development. Yeah, that baby has some problems, bro. I don't know how else to put that. So I've played the game, right? I've played the game. And I've put thousands of hours on FM24, FM23, 22, 21, right? I've streamed the game and I've put in a solid 30 hours, 20, 30 hours so far into Football Manager 26. And yeah, this isn't a beta, this is alpha stage, what this game's at. So Football Manager as a game, you're playing 70, 80% of the game within the menus, right? Maybe 20% you're actually watching the games, right? But the vast majority of the time, you're in the menus. The menus must be the best part about the game, hands down. That has been what Football Manager is all about. People play the game on 2D graphics because they don't really care that much. People just want to play a solid simulation game, a smooth simulation game, right? This is not a smooth simulation game at all. There is over 2,800 bug reports on just the UI alone so far, and it's only been a couple of days. I'm going to go through a few here just so you guys can get an idea, right? If you're on the fence about buying it or not. I enjoy the game at its core, but I physically cannot when it's in a state like this, right? I cannot. So if you play the game for 10, 20 minutes, right, you're immediately going to come across at least 10 bugs, I would say. Or at least bugs, you can call them bugs, right? They are really minor, but they all add up, right? So first and foremost, right, I'll just get this out of the way. The models of this game are awful, right? I would prefer the weird sort of mud-faced things that we had from last year, because this year they look like the Falmer from Skyrim, right? They look so bad. As soon as you start the game, the first thing you're going to realize is how slow things take to click through. Another thing, you're going to realize how many goddamn buttons there is, right? Everything is clickable, nothing is intuitive. Everything's got its own little box, right? Everything's got its own little box that then you click into it. It brings up a whole bunch of new boxes, and all the boxes look the same. Everything is clickable, and it drives me insane, right? And if you accidentally click into one of these screens, and then you try and click back, it won't even take you, sometimes it won't even take you back to the screen that you're just on. It transports you to some new panel that you've never seen before. And you're like, how the hell did I get here? You'll know that straight away within the first 10, 20 minutes, right? Which, that's the majority of the game right there, is clicking through screens, right? And if you can't get that correct and you ship it as a beta build less than 2 weeks away from actual launch and it's still in that state, man, I've got concerns for the full release. Anyway, after post meeting / press conferences, the game returns you to the start of the previous meeting. Yeah, that's true. They said that they hotfixed this, however, I still had this issue. Granted, it's not every single time. Essentially, if you had a team meeting and then you tried to continue, it would more often than not just drag you back to the already completed team meeting screen, and then you had to like forcefully like exit it, close it out, click on a couple of tabs, and then you would finally be able to, you know, move on with your fucking day. Inconsistent button / font sizes across screens. This drives me up the wall. This is the first game that I've actually had to like go into the accessibility menus and enlarging the text, right? Because I can't read it. Poor color text contrast leads to eye strain. I complained about that within the first hour of the game. Again, I had to go into accessibility settings. I had to change colorblind modes because everything looks the goddamn same. Everything's the same tone. Pop-ups and widgets clogging and navigation flow. Yeah, this feels like a website, right? Where like you're watching a football game, right? Totally legal, right? And you're on some dodgy website. And then you know how you have pop-ups everywhere, and then you need to like click into X, and then it brings up a whole new window. That's what playing this game feels like. It feels like I'm trying to dance around pop-ups. It's insane. The UI looks more like a mobile or console game rather than a detailed simulator. Yes, that is true. I understand why they've done it, right? I understand. The new player experience for Football Manager was not good, right? It was not good. The screens were intuitive, right? And it was quite easy to navigate, but you didn't know what to do. You didn't know why you were going into a screen, which is why the FMpedia and the tutorials are such a good input. I think that's brilliant for the new player experience. If that could have just been added and we had the same UI as Football Manager 24, this game would have been a slam dunk, right? And then you couple that in with the new engine updates. Oh my god, this game would have been brilliant. But they've tried to cater to the console players specifically, and they've even come out and said in one of the recent posts, consider a controller. FM26 is more controller friendly than ever. You'll find the UI experience smoother than ever and may even notice some subtle changes to how the game looks and feels. It feels like you're playing Football Manager Console Edition on the PC, which is outrageous. Laggy tab switches and slow navigation, yep. Yeah, so again, I mentioned this previously. Every time you want to like flick through a player profile, it takes like a second or 2 seconds to load. It's infuriating, right? It's so annoying. It should just be instant, bro. It should just be instant. The only time I expect the game to maybe pause for a little bit is when it's going through, or like is when you're continuing on the timeline or you're loading into a game. That's the only time I expect it to load. Everything else should just be seamless. Resolution and layout issues. Yeah, so if you've got an ultra wide monitor, yeah, good luck, bro. Lone players are displayed with the wrong happiness, i.e. devastated. Yeah, so when I signed a player on loan, they were really excited to come into my team and then start playing first team football. They were 19 years old, they weren't getting picked for their team. I brought them in. As soon as they joined, their morale went from like happy before I even signed them to devastated. They were like, joining my club was the worst experience of their life apparently, and they'd been there for 2 seconds. Granted, it wasn't Newcastle, right? But I've been to Newcastle once. I loved it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he just hated it. Some UI views are blank until manually refreshed. Yep, you'll notice that quite a lot. You know in Football Manager 24, when you click on a player, and then the name of that player appears above their head, right? At the moment, I believe it's only the closest defender and the person that's on the ball has their names appear, right? But if someone is way out of position, and you want to see who is out of position on your team, and you try and click on them to see the name doesn't appear at all. So you don't know who that individual is. You don't know who's missed a header. You don't know who's widely out of position. You just need to be really, really good at identifying players on the pitch, or do you just need to guess who it is? I cannot understand why they've removed that feature, but they have. Some shortcut keys cause soft locks. Yeah, no, that's true. Sometimes they can even just completely crash the game if you try and use some hotkeys. I've seen that. Goalkeepers using outfield player kits in the overview screen. I've not seen that myself, but what I have seen is in the game when you bring on a sub, sometimes they've just completely forgotten to change it out of their sub gear or out of their tracksuits. They are just running around on the field wearing like their full training gear. So that's just like a visual bug. That's not a huge deal. It shouldn't be happening though, and again, that's this close to releasing, but by the by. Some people are reporting whenever they start a career, it crashes their game. People have been reporting that when they continue the game, like when they're just advancing through, or right after they finish a match, the game will just just like hard lock, and then you need to close the game out, and then you lose all your save progress. Match state visuals are inconsistent. I've had this during a Europa League game in which the scoreboard and the time of the game had just vanished. Well, it didn't vanish, right? It was just like orange and grey blocks, and I couldn't see anything. And even when someone scored, their names didn't pop up. It was just the badge. That was all. That's pretty important to have, right? If you're playing a knockout game, it's quite important to know that if you've got a 2-1 lead, you want to know what the time is of that game, right? I couldn't do that. I just had to roll with it, right, and guess. Many wasted clicks to carry out what used to be simple functions. Yeah, you'll notice that. Again, like I mentioned, everything's clickable. You're clicking so much. It's like button simulator that you're playing. Some UI panels do not fill the available screen space. They appear cramped. You'll find out about that pretty quickly. Everything is in a box. Everything has its own box, and in that box, if you click on something, it brings up a new panel which looks exactly the same as the previous screen that you were just on, and that has more boxes in it, and everything just meshes into one. That could just be me, but it's good to know that other people feel that same way. Custom view creation and capability is diminished. If you try and create custom views, good luck with that. The chances are you'll probably crash the game. If not, it will format it completely incorrectly. So some text overlaps UI elements in some resolutions. Yeah, again, like if you've got like a wider monitor, you're gonna have a lot of issues with text wrapping around in the incorrect positions. You're gonna have buttons that are off screen. You're gonna have text that's off screen. It's a complete mess. Game crashes when using certain player instructions during a match. People have been unable to leave or exit a match properly. It will just soft lock the game. Icons and silhouettes are misaligned. A white ball is used when it's a snow fixture, so you might as well play on 2D if that happens. So some scroll bars will also, instead of just scrolling across the pane, will scroll across the entire screen. Don't know why that's a thing. And yeah, the last one here, I was actually really excited about this feature, right? So you've got a new feature now where you can just hit instant result, which basically just plays the entire match within a few seconds, and then you can just carry on, right? So if it's a friendly or if it's like a cup game that you're not bothered about, that's a really useful tool to have. They had that in multiple different skins for previous Football Managers. It's a great feature, but hit instant result, and then if you can tell me what the score of your game was within 3 seconds, I will be amazed, right? Because the game doesn't tell you what the final score of your game was. It shows you every single result in the entire world, and your result is in that list somewhere. You need to go and find it, or just do what most people do, hit continue anyway, and then it will show up at the very bottom, like, or you might not even be able to see it, but the result of your game will be there in your calendar, right? That is complete nonsense. Just give me an overview of the game. Like, how is that? Did no one test that and think, we should probably have that there? Guys, listen, if you were a spacebar lover, if you enjoy pressing spacebar to cycle through your emails, right, you want as little mouse interaction as possible, right? And you were like me, you just hit spacebar. Yeah, bro, sorry, man. You're just going to be skipping days instead of skipping through your emails. Yeah, spacebar now continues the day, as opposed to just cycles through your inbox. Yeah, that might be the worst change. That actually might be the worst change. You also can't like compare your staff to like other staff in the league, which is really strange. I used to like to know is like how my staff were perceived against the rest of the league, right? Is like if I was lower in the average, I would be like, oh, okay, I should probably improve my staff to be more competitive with the rest of the league. I don't know if I am or not, but you physically can't see that. And yeah, like sorting by position and the tactics screen as well, that just doesn't work either. You try to sort by position and then it just throws players everywhere. There's well over 3,000 bug reports on the SI forums, right? I reckon that's only about 10% of what's actually been found. Do you want to know why? I'll show you why. If you want to report a bug, you need to click this button right here. All right, it says report a bug at the bottom right hand corner. If you click report bug, what do you think happens? It takes you to the Sports Interactive website, where you then need to create an account, verify your email, and then type it all out on here. No one wants to do this. This is added on effort. People just want to play the game. Why there's not already like an implemented report bug feature in the game in the beta is insane. You're going to get so much less reports because you need to go through like this whole manual process of going to a website, like going out of the game, going to a website, signing up, creating an account. But first you need to check if it's a duplicate as well. They don't want you sending in duplicates. I don't think there's going to be nearly enough time to fix the majority of these. And the majority of the issues are based around the UI, which they won't change. And skins are apparently going to be really difficult to implement into this new Football Manager. So yeah, guys, I would wait for the full release, see what updates they bring out. The core game is still Football Manager. I think it looks great in game. Yeah, sure, it still looks a little bit like ice skating, right? And some of the physics and some of the animations are exactly the same. But it's a very big graphical improvement, but the UI, where you spend most of your gameplay, is completely cooked. I've seen so many different people praise this game and put all the flaws down to it's a beta. This isn't a beta. Calling this a beta is insanity. Over 2,600 bugs have been reported on just the UI alone. That isn't beta levels of bugs. That's like early alpha levels of bugs. I don't think you can pass this all off, especially if you paid £40, right? If you pay £40 to play this game as a consumer, I believe you're entitled to a working product. If it's titled as a beta, yeah, sure, you might see some things here and there, but every single screen you go to, it feels like there's a new bug. It feels like there's something new that you've just discovered. It feels like playing the worst Pokemon game of all time. Hopefully, with some of the hot fixes, everything will be a-okay, but I don't think it will be. I think this is going to be a bit of a mess on release, and I'm interested to see the reviews on Steam as well. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think.